Welcome. I'm president of the Lunenburg Historical Society, and then, I guess since last November, since we've met, had a general meeting like this and a program. And in that time, we've made remarkable progress up at the society. So any of you who haven't been there recently should go there. We've been working on a computerized database. We even have photographs in the database now. It's a very active board. Everybody seems to be fully involved in whatever they're asked to do. So the last 6 months has been active, and I've really enjoyed being part of it. So that's a quick update. Following this evening's presentation, and I'm going to do a little housekeeping here for a few minutes, but before I turn the floor over to Bill, we will have, I believe, 3 more meetings this year in 2022. There'll be a program in June, one in September, and one in November. Those topics yet to be determined or finalized, but they're in the process. So stay tuned. We'll keep you in the loop as far as between Facebook and emails and every other way of getting in touch with you. So look forward to that, and we'll look forward to having you back. In terms of housekeeping issues, we have a table at the back, which you should all look at, which have remarkable things from the Historical Society. We have our exclusively designed turkey-filled mugs, which are terrific. Coffee tastes better than it. They're wonderful. They're great for hot chocolate. So take a look at those. We also have representative buildings that were done as part of the Cat's Meow series, and of various structures in Lunenburg. And then we have some publications. The Red Book, as it's referred to, is there, along with Images of America, Lunenburg edition, and a couple other softcover books that are available. And Bill Laxo has kindly arranged everything so it's easy to see, and he has cash, so big change. Let's see, we have one other item again, not to defer to or delay Bill's presentation, but we have a couple of special recognitions, and I'm going to ask Bill Laxo to come up and take care of that, if you would, Bill.
Applause. I haven't stood here for a long time, it seems. But seriously, from time to time we recognize people and for the efforts that they've put forth to continue the work of the society. You know, they've got experience, they've got knowledge, everything else, and it all helps to keep your historical society going well from year to year. So tonight, a couple of people we'd like to recognize for their efforts. Steve Schaff, you here? Please come up. I just discovered recently that Steve and I got involved with the society at the same time. Seriously? Yeah, we were replacements for others who left the staff and so forth, so we came on in midterm. And so it goes back to early 2012. Yes. Anyway, so we have for you, Steve, a certificate of appreciation with grateful thanks from the Board of Directors for your devotion, enthusiasm, support as a director of the Lunenburg Historical Society from, I'd say, 2011 to 2021. You were a great benefit to the society. We all appreciate your efforts, and we're happy to present you with this certificate. Next, Miss Jennifer Sanderson, would you please come up? I have to say some special words about this young lady. If you want to know something about ancient history in Rome, Greece, world history, U.S. history, don't ask her questions about the Civil War because she'll go into a litany. She is an absolute expert. She could rewrite the history of Lunenburg as well. Her family has been here since before the chartering of the town in 1728. So, but Jennifer, she served as our curator from November 2015 to the annual meeting at the end of last year. Jennifer, you were a great contributor to the society. You deserve all the credit that we can give you. And there is your certificate. It reads the same as his.
Hello. I'd like to speak about Margaret Harley. Bob Elkerman. Oh, yeah. I got a few things to say about her. If I can get there, I'll get there. It's taking me a minute to get there. I used to be pretty fast, but it didn't work that way.
Okay. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see you.
I'll have to go around the other way, that positive way. Hello.
Hello.
Margaret, Harley, and I met her in the 8th grade. She was my teacher. She was wonderful. She was always wonderful to me, and she helped me an awful lot in school. And we always maintained a real good friendship. When I was in high school, we used to hang around here at Harley's stand, and that was our hangout. And one Halloween night, Margaret says to me, "Robert, I have never rung the church bell." I says, "We'll take care of that." So we went over to the church. I crawled in the back window, opened the door for her. He's ringing away on the bell. The police come running in. They put the flashlight on her, and the policeman says, "Oh, it's you." She rang it a few more times. But one time, I was at the Harley stand again, and she said to me, "Robert, I think we should form a softball league." So we got together, and we got 5 teams together, men's softball, and it was really, really, really something. And we had a lot of things. I have to say a little bit about Harold too here, is that Harold, I said to Harold one day, I was park commissioner, and I said, we got some land in Shirley Reservoir, and I'd like to put in a ballpark in Shirley Reservoir. I said, Harold, you want to come with me? So we come down, and Harold and I measured out everything. We got a ballpark. Bill Proctor, Dad helped us an awful lot, a lot of other people. We got everything done, backstops, all fencing, everything. And I got a call from PJ Keating, and he says, part of your backstop is on my land, but don't worry about it. But there were so many incidents that I could say that it was a really great place that we had that. Then I think there was probably 2,000 to 3,000 people in town, so we were really knowledgeable. When I went to school, I knew everybody from the first grade to the senior class. But things have changed. I knew all the Proctors. So it was knowing these people was really a big part of my life, and they were always really, really wonderful to me. And I had to sit here. I almost forgot that it was tonight, but I'm glad I could make the situation because I really love those two people. And no more Harley stand, Clover Hill stand. It was such a meeting place like you never. We after the ball game, we crowded in there. The whole place was so full, we couldn't put another person in there. And he had the tonic machines right in the front, and you slid the things open and grabbed your tonic. And well, Harold was really, really famous for his hot dog. We don't know why.
I know why.
Why is it?
Well, I'd leave school and go to Brownies. And then as soon as I got out of Brownies, I went to Harley's hair stand for a hot dog.
Well,
And what he did was he halved them and grilled both sides. And he toasted the toast, and I think he buttered it before he put the hot dogs.
we really don't know what he did. But
They were the best.
one other thing that really got me sometimes is that if you ordered ice cream cone with Harold, he used to put it on a scale to make sure that you're getting not too much.
I didn't know that.
Thank you.
Good businessman.
Well, that was the lead-in for the main program, and without further ado, I want to introduce Bill Tyler, who has spent a good deal of time putting this program together, and we're all looking forward to it. Those of us who knew Harold and Margaret Harley, I did from years ago, and had the opportunity to meet them and work with them and know their passion for the town of Lunenburg. And appreciate all they did, and Bill is going to highlight that for us.
As soon as we put the plug back in.
Yeah.
See the plus.
All right.
Start pressing buttons. No, I'm not going to press any buttons. I get in trouble when I do that. Oh, it's coming. I think you got it. Sure. Always a technical problem. Okay, here it is. Thank you very much for coming. Before I start, I just want to make one announcement that, as you may or may not know, most of our programs over the last 5 years have been recorded and are available on Lunenburg's public access YouTube site. Recently, with the cooperation of Joe McLaughlin, she created a playlist so it's easy to find. Before you had to kind of have to know the name of the program to find it. So now, go on to YouTube, Lunenburg site, and type in Lunenburg Historical Society presentations, the list will come up. And there's probably 12 of them on there. So it makes it a lot easier to find the programs. So no further ado. If you grew up in Lunenburg, what is called a townie, there would be no question that you knew or knew of one or both Harold and Margaret. The title of Mr. and Mrs. Lunenburg seemed fitting to me for many, many reasons, which I'll present visually during the program and in the stories behind the images. One of the first things I learned when joining the Historical Society was that it was virtually impossible to conduct any 19th or 20th century research without continuously coming across the names Proctor and Harley. So when thinking about a subject for the program, it occurred to me that since both Harold and Margaret were very well known in town, that a documentary of sorts with historic images and stories might be interesting. I hope you enjoy the program as much as I enjoy producing it. I'll usually refer to Harold as Hare. During the program, is that what he was generally known by? Most of the research on this program was gathered through our files on the two families. However, I did reach out to Steve Padula, Mary Harley Padula's son, who shared some priceless anecdotes and quotes I'll refer to occasionally. I also asked my brother, who worked for Hare in the early 1950s, to share his memories. Oh, and by the way, there'll be a quiz after the program to see if you've been paying attention. Just kidding. But there will be a mystery photo at the end to see how astute you are on Lunenburg history. I'd like to begin with a brief background on the family's history in town. Harold Dennett Harley was born in Lunenburg on June 18, 1891, the son of Henry A. and Mary Hadley Harley. This family photo was taken in 1910 when Harold was 19 years old. From left to right, starting in the back row, are Harold, Frank, Robert, Henry the father, Richard, Winthrop. The front row from left to right is David, Francis, Mary the mother, and Eleanor. I guess we can all pick out Hare pretty easily in this picture. Harold's father Henry and his brother Will built a family house on Mass Ave, which has always been referred to as the Harley House, at the turn of the century, and remained in the family for over 100 years. In fact, Fran Harley, Hare's sister, lived her entire life in that house. In later years, Mary Harley Padula, Hare's niece, and her daughter Gail operated the Harley House as a restaurant for quite some time. It was a very popular place and a political hotbed for the town Republicans. I would venture a guess that many political career began and maybe ended there. Harold graduated from Lunenburg High School in 1909, and this class picture was taken at the class trip in Plymouth. He went on to graduate from what was then called the Pittsburgh Normal School in 1913, and taught school in West Pittsburgh for 3 years. He also was in the poultry business with his brother Dick Harley. He also owned and operated the Clover Hill stand in the center for many years, which will be covered later. Margaret Proctor was also born in Lunenburg, July 13, 1907, the daughter of Ernest K. and Lizzie Francis Proctor. The photo on the left of Ernest and Lizzie was taken in Whitensville, Mass. in 1896. And on the right, Margaret and her sister Edith, who would go on to be the librarian of the Ritter for many, many years. I think most of you can relate to one of my fondest memories of Edith when we were youngsters while in the library. We'd all get a little too loud and we'd hear. The family home was located on Main Street, roughly where Ben Larry's restaurant is. In later years, Lizzie Proctor would operate a filling station in front of the house, and even later the Clover Hill stand was located there. As a note, several of the images in this program were taken from the Lizzie Proctor collection of photographs taken by Lizzie herself in the 1920s and 30s. Margaret graduated from Lunenburg High School in 1926, a member of a class of 11 students, the first to graduate from what was then the new high school. She graduated from Pittsburgh Normal School, which would later be Pittsburgh State College, in 1929. After a 3-year course of study, she earned a bachelor's degree in 1953 and a master's in 1955. She also held a certificate of advanced graduate study in guidance from Boston University. I'll cover her teaching career a little bit later. To say athletics were an important part of each of their young lives certainly would be an understatement. Carol's involvement in sports was mainly focused on baseball, being a pitcher in high school, and also coaching the town girls' baseball teams. Back then, neighboring towns all had teams, and many rivalries were born. As a matter of fact, some of the early baseball games were played on town common. During his high school days as a pitcher, and I would guess that Hare had some say in this exaggeration, it was said that Harold had a curveball that could turn the corner of Tremont and Wilson Street. The following is a quote from an article in the Boston Globe in 1959 when conducting an interview with Harold. This is about a high school game that Harold was pitching in. We were leading in the last of the ninth by 1 run. They had 2 on base and 2 out. Far back of center field was a large apple tree, and there were no ground rules back then. I threw my best curve, and the batter really hit it, and it sailed high and beyond the center fielder. He raced back clear of the tree, where the ball came down in the branches. The fielder squatted down, cupped his hands, and caught the ball as it skidded off the branch. Whether this is a true story or not, it kind of gives us an idea of what baseball was like back then. Hare continued his involvement with sports after high school by coaching many, many different teams. Actually, I want to go back for a second. I do this without messing up. Does anybody, I'm sure people will recognize it, I'm going to use a pointer. This young lady right here, does anybody know who that is?
Yeah.
That's Mary Harley, went on to work at the town hall and be a town clerk and a state senator. And she was a well-rounded athlete on her own. These teams would also include girls baseball, basketball, field hockey, softball, and to a limited degree, track and field teams. From the same article was quoted, Hare is quoted as saying, "It's been my experience that girls teams work harder, fight harder, and show more spirit." Hare was also quoted as saying, again, this is classical Hare, "There's only one excuse for missing a practice, a funeral, your own." This photo was of the 1945 Girls Athletic Club basketball team of which Hare coached. Again, I believe Mary is on the far left on the bottom row. Margaret's interest in sports began when her father took her to area baseball games. In track events during old home days. In addition to playing basketball, she entered every track event open to girls as a member of the Girls Athletic Club, an AAU affiliate. Harold, who would later become her husband, was coach of both club and school teams. Margaret and Harold were married August 27, 1943. Quoting again from the 1959 interview, "I confess that I couldn't throw a javelin across a room, but I did coach Margaret during her record-setting years. This photo was Hal carrying a javelin in one hand and a discus in the other to what was probably a practice on School Street. The Proctor houses in the background, along with Lizzie Proctor's filling station. In the 1920s and 30s, School Street was the site of many town and sporting events. I think, I'm kind of judging by his appearance, that he doesn't look, he might be maybe in his 20s or 30s. He doesn't look much older than that. Margaret was a gifted athlete, competing in track and field, basketball, field hockey throughout high school. However, over many accomplishments on the field of play, she took track and field to another level. Competing in the junior championships at Franklin Field in Boston on May 24, 1925, while still in high school, she set a new American woman's record in the javelin with a throw of 103 feet 3 inches. This photo shows the program and the jersey number she wore. This Boston Post article, printed the next day, really put Lunenburg on the map with Mr. Proctor's record-setting throw. Also of note, 4 of the Lunenburg girls competed that day in the 50 and 220-yard dash, high jump, baseball throw, and shot put, all representing Lunenburg as a Lunenburg athletic club. They were Dorothy Francis, Dagny Schultz, Limpy Hill, and Blanche Moran. On June 3rd, 1928, she proceeded to break her own record with a throw of 110 feet, 3 1/4 inches, while competing at Franklin Field again. This photo shows the program in her jersey number 67 that she wore at this meet. What is really special about this jersey number is that she wrote on it, javelin, new record, 110 feet, 3 inches. And we're really blessed to have these artifacts that were donated to us. Later on in the program, I have some scrapbooks up here from her that you're more than happy to go through and look at later. She actually held the world record for about 3 months, but never had an opportunity to enter the Olympics, as there were no women's javelin events at that time. Again, I can only imagine the hoopla and celebrations that occurred in our tiny town when Margaret Proctor set this record. It certainly put Lunenburg on the map as far as women's athletics are concerned. I wanted to include this photo of a program from a track and field meet held in Pasadena, California in July of 1925 for a couple of reasons. First of all, you need to keep in mind she was only 17 at the time and still in high school. I find it remarkable that a young girl at her age would have the courage to travel across the country in what I think is the first time she ever competed outside of Massachusetts. She traveled with her mother, but still representing the tiny town of Lunenburg at that age is quite an honor. The second reason I wanted to include this photo of the program is to point out another example of how Lunenburg can be misspelled. 9 times out of 10 is usually Lunenburg, B-E-R-G. But if you look at Margaret's listing on javelin, you see Luxembourg Athletic Club. That's a new one to me. How they come up with Luxembourg out of Lunenburg. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that ball. Most of us, including myself, fondly remember the Clover Hill stand that Hare operated, owned and operated. It was located where the present Badlarry's restaurant is. It was a gathering place for kids after school to get a shake or a soda or a hamburger or just hang out. My family lived near the center, and my brother worked for Hare at the stand after school cleaning and stacking bottles during the early 50s. He also picked strawberries in a large field behind the Harley house. And on Sunday mornings, Hare and Margaret would pick him up and travel to the train station in Pittsburgh to pick up bundles of the Sunday papers. He recalls being paid the outrageous rate of 25 cents an hour for his labors. I love this photo. I wish it was better quality. Newspaper article, I think that's like this image of here, where you can stand, but I remember it most. I always with a white shirt and tie, paper hat, ready with a story of some sort, but always a smile. He loved repeatedly arguing political issues. One day when having one of these debates, may have been the big deal. Two ladies came into the stand, sat down, interrupted the debate, and he brought another coffee. The debate continued on, and after about 20 minutes, until one lady was brave enough to ask how the food was going. I'm not sure how it ever ended up. I'm sure they got the coffee eventually. Gail was also known for his humor side, we all know. It was displayed in his ad in place of 1962, looking for help and conservation. I wonder how this ad has been running, Jeff, and see it today. I'd be happy to read it. Anybody, everybody read it? I'll read it. Help wanted ad, posted by Conservation Chairman Harold Harley. One, citizens of Lunenburg volunteer to do work on conservation. We will attend every meeting, be on time, every time. We'll do the job as well as we would be paid. Only a lot better. He doesn't fly south ducks in the fall, north to the east in the spring. He doesn't have an extended vacation last all summer. He can be found in an emergency without calling the FBI, contacting missing person cases. He restricts his phone to business premises so that he can easily be contacted. Who has a wife to stay at home, minds his business one, mows his lawn, shovels snow, comes on the store window at 7. Doesn't make you feel like a heel. And he goes to a conservation leaves her at home. A man who is cheerful, optimistic, and who jumps ahead of the rest of the week. Please leave your name with support stuff. Harley. Here began his service at the town of the He advocated for the development of master plan. He was instrumental in planning, vision, and construction. His public service spans some 50 years, including being a charter member of the Earth Fire Commission, serving from 1920 to 1942. He also was a charter member of the Planning Board, 1948 to 1970. Conservation Commission, 1961 to 1977. He also served in the town forest from 1962 to 1977. Remember that he was instrumental in working for the town's housing measure center, a section of which was dedicated to the farm in 1968. Harley Library. Another here, quote, he was often wound up on my collar, and he was. He never had, or would never seek election to pay compensation. Another photo. He's also very creative in his political side in the planning board. Speaker Sam Foster's dog Boyd. There, when it was kicked over. Sam, if you remember, was town gardener. The dog traversed the center regularly with the trees. So here, being the true man he was, he utilized the dog to the other group during this time and down the boat. Nothing else than one boat in the river now. Again, it's just classic. Margaret began a teaching career at Lunenburg Library, spanning 37 years, 1932 to 1969. In 1929, she began a teaching career involved in mathematics and English, 55 seventh grade students in class. There are $975 a year. After 3 years, she transferred to Lunenburg, junior high English and math, and served as coach of girls basketball. She jokingly said, I think that's why they won. Well, apparently it wasn't a joke. She coached the basketball team for 14 years. In 1932, 1946, filed a record of 212, 24. The team won the electricity championship, made it for 10 years after being consistent for the year. Once after winning the championship, the squad rang the bell for the Congregational Church to announce their victory. The townspeople thought the war had ended. One of our greatest thrills was an opportunity to present the scholarship awards for graduation from the class of 1960. These awards are routinely made by the high school principal. Principal Richard Terry, unannounced news, awarded the building Mr. Harley to receive the standing position. This photo shows Mrs. Harley in the 1957 class from the town hall. So until I saw this photo, I never realized that the class was held there. The high school wasn't complete. The two overcrowding the Dennett school of the high school. Classes had to be held. It's supposed to be like junior high age. Yes. So in 1957, I couldn't find the people. Girl Scouts was another batch. Picture of Margaret Proctor. Coming after the 1919, continuing the 50s. We also had held numerous initial goals with Girl Scouts. According to a poll, greatest satisfaction came to leaders. With close contact with girls on high campus, gave me the opportunity to do myself. In mathematics teacher, senior girls in 1968 received the Farr Miller Award for unselfish devotion to the highest ideal of teaching. Harley retired in 1959, director of government, entering hundreds of students with a beautiful way to be their way to return to high school. Besides all of that, about the ceremony honoring her service, the license was only given on a part-time basis until 1957 and became full-time. Margaret became the director in 1950. This is another photo of it. Although I never had the pleasure of having Mrs. Harley as a teacher, this image captured her in a way that I most remember her too quick. Always being available to help with the problem, chat. You remember once we showed the kind of path and great struggle that she did. I was a junior in high school, family moved to town, set up the street party, and a summer that she went class. Margaret went out of her way to introduce us. Made him feel much more at ease. Became best of friends with all of that. This photo shows the conservation commission that was 1968. They were chartered up and created the form in 1965. They worked in unity with the town club community and they were all construction, beginning in 1960. I recognize all the people in that photo. Some of them. Off my head. Some of the people. Cindy wasn't already busy enough. He was also involved with the Boy Scouts. She moved to War 1961 for his years of service. I think by now you're going to see the theme of this program. How much care and Margaret gave themselves to the town result. Nowadays, some getting citizens to volunteer wonders quite well the number of teachers. I'm quite sure that between both of them, more than 100 years of service. I almost forgot Margaret was also the president of the historical society. Now we come to the history program. Maybe some members of the crowd here know who that is. But this is a photo of a young boy hiding in sand with sunny bathing. And I can assure you that it's well known in town. A few minutes may recall, they were the other things. Anybody have any?
I thought it was at Scott Foster.
Yes, it is.
I just love that. That was in the ledger. Pam had that in the ledger a while back.
Yeah.
Scott.
Scott by the second door time, he saw the equipment, from the contact the wall. The doc gave it to him. He knew what it was. That's a classic picture.
Yeah.
All right, this is the next to the last inning tonight. No warning with the graph. Prepare yourself. I'll save this image next to the last level of human in the program. You think the lady on the left is there, the farmer with the hair. It's not like the Anderson system. His hair all brought on the bench now. So my estimate is possible to go home these celebrations that occurred every year of 1920, 30. It's another example of hair and usual sensitivity. I saw that in there. The other gentleman, this time I'd like to share a story from Jim program. I think it is, I'll call it here. At Mayor Media's birthday party, he was asked what he was going to do in retirement. He honored it for a few moments. His response was, I think I'll travel. All over Lunenburg. Once I'm living on Sunny Hill Road. Living on Sunny Hill Road, they were doing some cleaning. Mixed some dark colored cleaner that she diluted with coffee regularly. I am willing to do that. Margaret came home from school. It was what she thought was the top. She thought it was a nice gesture on his part and needed it up. She only managed it for a sip. She didn't even retain that. And once again, on one snowy day, one of them was traveling on Route 2A, Pittsburgh to home. The other from home to Pittsburgh. You might be used to this going. Route 2A and Sunny Hill Road, once you make the right turn, the other left. Thus smashing each other. No one was hurt, but they thought turning in the insurance claims was proving to be quite embarrassing. This last story, is head of my own list. This last story was told me by several readers who I'm tempted to identify, but they shall remain nameless. Now refer to them as Utes. I said the iconic food my cousin Vinny. And Joe Pesci referred to these foods as Utes instead of Utes. These Utes stalled behind the bench with the stand, filled with an empty soda bottle. Here was in the store. Tempted to cash it in. I'm not sure whether Gail was aware of what was going on. Even if he was, probably was the other way. Now, I don't want to conclude this program with that horrifying image. So, image stuck in my head, so I find this sort of when you're appropriate to you. I want to thank Steve Padula for his historical and anecdotal contribution to this program. We also have to mention the after scrapbook up here at the table made by Margaret Proctor, head of the year. Filled with newspaper clippings. You're welcome to take a look at this program and crafting the other kinds of questions and responsible. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit more about the lives of Margaret Proctor, how legacy and mine. Well done. Everybody has this book.
Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the prevalence and other responsibilities here. We want to thank you all for being here and for this next program. Be in touch. Get involved. Thank you all.